All right, guys, good evening. Tonight we are going to be officially starting our next unit, Unit 5, which is the Cold War. So fittingly, our first lesson is going to be titled The Cold War Beginnings. Our learning target for today, I can explain how the Cold War started and escalated so quickly. Pretty self-explanatory. All we're going to look at is how did the Cold War officially start and how did it get out of hand so fast to the point where in just a matter of a couple years, we are essentially ready to drop the atomic bomb on the Soviet Union and vice versa. So how does it start off? Well, it starts off with the atomic bomb. And it actually starts off a little bit before the atomic bomb at something known as the Potsdam Conference. And the Potsdam Conference, my handwriting sucks. I'm sorry about that, guys. So the Potsdam Conference features the U.S., Great Britain, and the Soviet Union. And it features their three leaders. We'll get more into the important guys, but basically for right now, it's Truman, Winston Churchill, as well as somebody by the name of Attlee, who succeeds Churchill, and then Joseph Stalin. And basically, at the Potsdam Conference, what they do is they are negotiating basically the terms of what's going to happen post-World War II. And while all that's going on, Truman goes up to Stalin, who's the leader of the Soviet Union, and basically says something like this: "Hey, I got something in my back pocket." Now, those are his exact words, no, but they're pretty darn similar to exactly what he said. He made it seem super, super vague. Like, hey, you know, if Japan's still giving us a hard time, we can kind of take them out if need be. And so, America goes and they drop the atomic bomb. Now, why did they drop the bomb? We talked about it before. To take out the Japanese and avoid a ground invasion. But the ulterior motive, as we talked about, what do we also want to do? We also want to intimidate the Soviet Union. And you can imagine how the Soviet Union took that. Not very well. They're scared to death. They don't know what to do. They're nervous. And this is going to lead to a huge kind of rivalry between Truman and Stalin. So how do they differ? I guess the better question is, how are they similar? And how are they similar? Well, they're not similar at all. These are all the basic things that we need to look at. An idea of West versus East. The Western world, the Eastern world. Democracy, freedom for all, communism. All right, those are the two big things. Okay, this basically is going to be the key idea for the next 2.5, 3 weeks that we're talking. Democracy versus communism. And in our eyes, democracy is freedom, and communism is the exact opposite of freedom. It is basically evil. Actually, I'm going to go over it in red because that's how everyone knows communism. It is evil. Let's draw some horns on Stalin. Anything else the devil has? I mean, that mustache is pretty good right there. So, he's good. All right, so what did Stalin want? What Stalin wants is a super weak Germany. Well, we saw this after World War I. It didn't work out so well. But Stalin wants a super weak Germany. Why? Because Germany had attacked the Soviets twice in both World War I and World War II, so they were freaked out about that. What else did they want? Well, what Stalin also wanted was he wanted communism to spread. And at first, it was just in some areas in between the Soviet Union and and Germany. The easiest one for you guys that you'll recognize is Poland. They wanted Poland to become communism. And some other little countries, we'll talk about them tomorrow if you guys have any questions. But what we realize is that he wanted more than just Poland. What he wanted is what they're showing in this picture right here. He wanted communism to spread all throughout the world. He wanted communism to spread to Asia, to Latin America, to Western Europe, with the hope that it would eventually be the only system that we would have. So you guys can see red propaganda. Red, of course, is communism. So that is the idea of spreading communism all throughout. And the U.S. response, how is the U.S. going to respond to that? Well, I'm sure you guys can guess. Hell nah. We are not going to let that happen. So, World War I and World War II. Let's look at the differences. World War I, post-World War I, we're talking obviously. We want to remain isolated, and we are U.S. only. Post-World War II, we go into something known as containment, and we will talk a lot more about containment on Thursday. But we want to go into containment, and we want intervention. So, World War I, isolation. World War II, intervention. So we saw that the United States being isolated after World War I does not work. So what do we have to do when something doesn't work? We have to change it. So that's why we are going to go from isolation to intervention, and we are going to officially become the policemen of the world. And what are we policing? We are policing freedom and democracy. And that's it. So if you guys can explain how the Cold War started and how it escalated so quickly, you guys are good to go. How did it start? At the Potsdam Conference with the atomic bomb. And how did it escalate? Basically, just the idea of capitalism versus communism, democracy versus, well, I guess we'll call that communism too, and then how Americans perceive it, good versus evil. That's it. So if you guys can get that, you're good to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night.